Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're looking at something a lot of people are curious about, working remotely from, say, sunny Spain.
Absolutely. The whole digital nomad thing has really exploded.
Right, so we're focusing on the Spanish digital nomad visa. We've dug into the details to give you, our listener, the essentials.
Yeah, cut through the jargon.
Exactly. Our mission, figure out who this visa is really for, what the big advantages are, and crucially, what you actually need to do to get it. We're working from the official info we could find.
Sounds good. It's fascinating how countries like Spain are actively trying to pull in remote workers now.
Okay, so let's jump right in. What is the Spanish digital nomad visa, basically?
Well, in a nutshell, it's a legal way for people from outside the EU or the EEA, so think US, Canada, UK, places like that,
Okay.
to live in Spain while working remotely. But the key is they have to be working for companies or clients that are not based in Spain.
Ah, so the money's primarily coming from abroad.
Precisely. That's the main idea. It covers employees working for foreign companies and also freelancers or self-employed folks.
Interesting. What about freelancers? Can they have any Spanish clients?
They can, actually, but there's a cap. The income you get from any clients inside Spain can't be more than 20% of your total professional income.
Okay, so it really emphasizes bringing foreign income into Spain.
Exactly. They want your spending power, but the work itself, the source of the income, should mostly be international.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So you get the visa. What does that actually let you do? How long can you stay?
Right. So the initial visa, it's a residence permit, and it's valid for 1 year to start.
Just 1 year.
Initially, yes, but you can renew it. The information suggests renewals can take you up to 5 years of residency in total.
5 years. Okay. It's more substantial.
Definitely. And a really big point is that you can bring your family along. Spouses, kids, they can usually be included on the application.
That's huge for people looking to properly relocate, not just do a short stint.
For sure. And there's another potential long-term benefit. Once you're established as a resident through this visa, the path opens up to potentially seek work across the EU later on without those initial income source restrictions. It's quite a significant long-term angle.
Wow. Okay. So who is this really aimed at? Who's the ideal person Spain is trying to attract with this?
Well, if you look at the overall trend and the specifics here, it's clearly targeting a few groups, freelancers and self-employed people we mentioned, especially those earning good money remotely.
Right.
Then there seems to be a real focus on IT and tech specialists, developers, designers, digital marketers, roles that are often remote anyway.
Makes sense, yeah.
And then more broadly, it's for anyone who's an employee of a foreign company, provided their job allows them to work from Spain.
Yeah.
They talk about digital mobility.
Digital mobility.
Yeah, it's about attracting talent, entrepreneurs, people who contribute economically through their spending, without necessarily taking local jobs initially, boosting those international connections.
Okay, I'm getting the picture. Let's move on to the juicy part, the benefits. Why choose Spain? What are the perks?
It's interesting. The sources we looked at mention things like good Google and Trustpilot ratings first, which isn't a direct visa benefit, but maybe suggests the process or support is seen positively.
Okay. A bit of social proof. But what about actual concrete advantages?
Right. The big one is tax. There's a potentially very attractive tax regime. Eligible nomads might qualify for a special flat income tax rate.
Whoa. How special.
We're talking 24% on income earned up to $600,000 per year, and that can apply for the first 6 years you're a tax resident under the scheme.
Wow. 24% flat rate up to $600K. That could be massive for high earners. Is that the Beckham Law thing I've heard about?
That's the one. It was originally for other types of high-skilled foreign workers like athletes, but they've extended eligibility potentially to digital nomads who meet the criteria. It makes Spain very competitive tax-wise.
No kidding. Okay, huge tax benefit potentially. What else?
Well, living in Spain means you're in the Schengen zone. That's a massive plus.
Right, visa-free travel.
Exactly. To 27 European countries makes exploring Europe incredibly easy. Just hop on a plane or train.
That's a classic digital nomad dream, isn't it?
It really is. Then there's the long-term potential. The visa can be a pathway towards permanent residency in Spain and eventually even Spanish citizenship if you stay long enough and meet the conditions.
So it's not just temporary. It could be a permanent move.
It could be, yes. On a more practical day-to-day level, you can open Spanish bank accounts easily. They mention Santander, Sabadell.
Standard banks, yeah.
And compared to maybe France or Germany or the UK, Spain generally offers a lower cost of living. Plus, you get access to affordable healthcare and good education systems, which is key if you're bringing family.
Okay, that's a pretty compelling package. Tax, travel, residency, lower costs.
I covered a lot of bases for sure.
Let's get practical. What do you actually need to qualify? What are the boxes you, the listener, need to tick? Let's talk requirements, documents.
Okay, this is where you need to pay close attention. First, the source of your work needs some history. If you're freelance or self-employed, your business or your main client relationships need to be at least 1 year old.
1 year established, okay. What if you're an employee?
If you're employed by a foreign company, you need to have been working for that specific company for at least the last 3 months before you apply.
3 months minimum employment. Got it. Anything else about the work?
Yes, qualifications matter. You generally need to have a university degree, graduate level, or equivalent higher education, or alternatively, prove significant professional experience in your field.
So they want qualified professionals.
Seems so. Then there's the money side. You need to show a minimum income. The figure mentioned is around $35,000 per year, but we should probably look at the euro figure they state for the application itself.
We'll come back to the exact euro amounts. What about background checks?
Yep. You need a clean criminal record, so a police clearance certificate, or PCC. For Americans, that's typically an FBI background check. For others, it's whatever the equivalent is from your home country or where you've lived recently.
Standard procedure for visas usually.
Yeah.
Health.
Crucial. You must have private health insurance, and it needs to offer full coverage within Spain, equivalent to the public health system. You can't rely on public health care initially.
Right. Private insurance is a must. Okay. Passport.
Photos.
The usual suspects. Valid passport. Needs at least 1 year left on it, plus 2 blank pages. 2 recent passport-style photos,
Right.
white background.
Yeah.
You'll also need a letter of intent or a cover letter
Yeah.
explaining why you're applying, what you do, that kind of thing.
Makes sense. And proof of your qualifications.
Yes. Copies of your university degree, maybe a letter confirming your professional experience. And just to reiterate, that police clearance certificate is definitely on the checklist.
Seems like a fair bit of paperwork together.
It usually is for these types of visas. Oh, and one important processing point.
Yeah. The documents mention that your official documents, like your degree or birth certificate, will likely need to be apostilled, and that this might be handled by a Spanish lawyer in Barcelona as part of the process.
Apostilled. Okay, for listeners who don't know, what does that mean quickly?
It's basically an official certification. It verifies that a document issued in one country is legitimate and can be recognized in another country, specifically countries part of the Hague Apostille Convention, which includes Spain. Think of it like an international notarization.
Got it. So an extra layer of verification for your key documents.
Yeah.
Makes sense. They'd want that handled properly.
Exactly.
Okay, you mentioned minimum income. Let's circle back to the specific financial requirements, especially for families. You said $35,000 annually, but what's the monthly euro amount they look for?
Right. The specific figures they usually quote are based on Spain's minimum wage indicator, the IPRM. For the main applicant, the current requirement is around $2,630 per month.
$2,630 monthly. Okay, and if you bring, say, a spouse?
It goes up. For the main applicant plus one dependent, like a spouse or partner, you're looking at needing to show about $3,683 per month.
$3,683 for a couple, and if you add a child.
For the main applicant plus 2 family members, it bumps up to around $3,947 per month.
Okay. Nearly 4,000 euros a month for a family of 3.
Yes. And then for every additional family member after the first 2, you need to add roughly another $333 per month to that requirement.
Wow. Okay, so those financial thresholds are quite specific and scale up significantly with family size.
Yeah.
Definitely something to calculate carefully.
Absolutely. You need solid, provable, consistent income at that level.
Okay, we've covered a lot. Let's try to boil it down for everyone listening. What are the absolute key pros and cons of this Spanish digital nomad visa?
All right, summary time. Pros. First, legal residency in Spain, obviously, big one.
Yep.
Second, those potentially huge tax savings via the Beckham Law, that 24% rate.
Game changer for some.
Third, the Schengen zone access. Easy travel across most of Europe. Fourth, Spain's relatively lower cost of living compared to many neighbors, plus good infrastructure like healthcare and schools.
Good quality of life factors.
Fifth, it's a potential pathway to permanent residency and citizenship down the line. And sixth, you can bring your family. That's a strong list.
Definitely sounds appealing. Now, flip side, what are the main downsides or things to watch out for? The cons.
Okay, cons. First, that 20% cap on income from Spanish clients. That could really limit freelancers wanting to build a local business.
Right, that's a definite restriction.
Second, the financial requirements themselves. While maybe lower than some countries, they are strict, and you need to prove that income consistently.
Not just a one-off thing.
Exactly, which leads to the third point. Renewals aren't automatic. You have to keep meeting the work requirements and the financial stability criteria to stay eligible.
So ongoing compliance is key.
Definitely. And fourth, the mandatory private health insurance. It's an ongoing cost you absolutely have to budget for, and it needs to be comprehensive.
Okay, so clear benefits, but also some significant hurdles and ongoing conditions.
That sums it up well. It's a great opportunity for the right person, but you need to go in with your eyes open about the requirements.
So for you listening, if you fit that profile, non-EU, remote worker, stable income, maybe in tech, Spain is putting out a welcome mat with some nice perks, but you got to make sure you tick all those boxes, especially the financial and documentation ones, and be aware of that Spanish income limit if you're freelance.
Precisely. It's about matching your situation to what the visa demands and offers.
All right. So here's something to think about as we wrap up. Spain's doing this. Portugal has one. Croatia. Lots of countries are jumping on the digital nomad visa train.
It's a definite trend.
So looking ahead, what other kinds of countries might we see launching similar policies? And maybe more fundamentally, how could this global competition for remote workers really start to change, the future of work itself and how easily people can just pick up and move?
That's the big question, isn't it? How much more mobile and global will workforces become? It's certainly reshaping things.
Something to keep an eye on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.